The forgotten vessel. The Phoenix Dawn drifted toward Nexus Station, its patchwork hull plates catching starlight in a dozen different hues. Captain Maya Chen watched from the bridge as sleek alien vessels moved away from their approach vector, their captains clearly wanting nothing to do with what they considered space junk. "They're clearing a path for us," joked Trill, the Vesperian navigator whose translucent exoskeleton glowed faintly in the dim bridge lighting. "How considerate." Maya's lips tightened. At 34, she was young for a cargo hauler captain, but the last 3 years commanding her grandmother's old ship had aged her considerably. The Phoenix Dawn was one of the last human-designed vessels still operating in this sector, a relic from before the Galactic Confederation had welcomed Earth as its newest, and least technologically advanced, member. "Nexus control to cargo vessel Phoenix Dawn," came the board voice over the comms. "Proceed to docking bay 42, external ring." The worst docking bay, naturally. Farthest from the commercial hub, nearest to the waste processing plants. Maya acknowledged the instruction without emotion. This was standard treatment for human vessels. "Primary thrust stabilizers failing," announced Karax, their Drell engineer. His scaled hands moved quickly across the old-fashioned physical controls that most modern ships had replaced with neural interfaces, switching to backups. The ship shuddered as the transition occurred. From somewhere in the engine compartment came a metallic groan followed by the hiss of escaping steam. Another uniquely human engineering solution that made alien engineers shake their heads in disbelief. "How bad?" Maya asked, already knowing the answer wouldn't be good. "We can make 3, maybe 4 more docks before the entire assembly needs replacement," Karax replied, his reptilian features impossible to read, but his tone grim. "Parts will cost more than we can afford," Maya finished for him. "Add it to the list." The list was already longer than their cargo manifest. Maya checked their accounts on her tablet. The numbers weren't encouraging. They had barely enough credits to refuel, let alone make repairs. And now they had just 48 hours to deliver specialized medical equipment to the colony on Proxima Centauri II. If they failed to deliver on time, they'd lose not just their payment but their shipping license. It was the most important contract they'd landed in months, and possibly their last chance to keep the Phoenix Dawn flying. As they docked with a concerning screech of metal, Maya made her way through the ship's corridors toward the cargo bay. The inside of the Phoenix Dawn was a stark contrast to its exterior, meticulously maintained, with every surface cleaned and polished. She ran her hand along the old-fashioned steel handrail, feeling the warmth that came from actual friction heating, rather than the temperature-controlled surfaces of modern vessels. "Those Aldebaran freighters are pointing and laughing again," reported Dex, their human security officer, over the comm. "Want me to go have a word?" "Negative," Maya replied. "We can't afford trouble." She entered the cargo bay where the medical supplies were secured. Gene therapy equipment that would save thousands of lives if they could deliver it in time. The cooling systems were already struggling to maintain the precise temperature needed. "Captain," called Karax, appearing at the cargo bay entrance. "We have another problem. The coolant system for the medical equipment is degrading faster than expected. We need specialized parts to maintain temperature control during transit." Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of command. "How much?" 10,000 credits, minimum. And no dealer will extend us credit based on our current reputation. The impossible situation settled on her shoulders. They needed repairs they couldn't afford to deliver cargo they couldn't lose, all while being mocked by every alien ship in the sector. "I'll figure something out," she said with more confidence than she felt. Hours later, after being rejected by every parts dealer on the station, Maya returned to the Phoenix Dawn, defeat weighing heavily on her. As she passed through the familiar corridors, something caught her eye. A slight discoloration on a wall panel she'd walked past thousands of times before. On closer inspection, the panel seemed to have worn edges that suggested it had been removed many times. Curious, Maya pressed against it, and to her surprise, it clicked and swung open. Behind it was a workshop unlike anything she'd seen before. Workbenches lined the walls, covered with half-finished projects combining ancient human mechanical components with modern alien technology. Diagrams and blueprints were pinned to every available surface, all in her grandmother's handwriting. "I see you finally found it," came Carax's voice from behind her. Maya spun around. "What is this place?" "Your grandmother's workshop. She made us promise not to show you until you discovered it yourself." "But why?" "Because she believed you needed to understand the problem before you could appreciate the solution," the engineer explained, stepping into the hidden room. "Your grandmother was a genius, Maya. She understood something that the Confederation engineers have forgotten." Carax picked up what looked like an old mechanical governor from a steam engine, but with crystalline modifications. Mechanical systems, when properly integrated with quantum technology, can do things pure quantum systems can't. Maya's mind raced. Is that how she kept this ship flying when others like it were scrapped? "Some of her designs are integrated throughout the Phoenix Dawn already," Carax confirmed. "But her final project, the one she was working on before she died, could revolutionize space travel. She called it the harmonic resonance drive." The engineer guided Maya to a large blueprint spread across the central workbench. "It combines mechanical governors with quantum field generators. The mechanical components provide physical backup systems that stabilize the quantum fields in ways pure technology can't match." "And you've been continuing her work?" Maya asked, running her fingers over the detailed drawings. "We've been waiting for the right moment, and for you to be ready." Carax's scales rippled with excitement. This system could not only save the Phoenix Dawn, but prove that human engineering still has value in this galaxy. Maya picked up her grandmother's journal, flipping through pages of calculations and diagrams. "But we still need parts, don't we? Parts we can't afford." Carax's face broke into what passed for a smile among his species. "That's the beauty of it. Your grandmother's designs use common materials in unconventional ways. We already have most of what we need right here on the ship." Hope sparked in Maya's chest for the first time in months. "How long to implement the first phase?" "With everyone helping. 12 hours, maybe less, and it will keep the medical equipment stable for the journey. Better than any system on those fancy ships out there," Carax assured her. Maya looked around the workshop once more, seeing her grandmother's legacy with new eyes. "Then let's get to work. It's time to show the Confederation what human ingenuity can do." For the next 12 hours, the entire crew worked nonstop. Maya pored over her grandmother's notes, while Carax and Dex assembled the hybrid cooling system. Trill used his mathematical expertise to fine-tune the calculations, amazed by the elegant simplicity of the design. As they worked, Maya began to understand why her grandmother had kept this hidden. It wasn't just about keeping the Phoenix Dawn flying. It was about proving that sometimes looking backward was the best way to move forward. The Confederation had become so reliant on pure quantum technology that they'd forgotten the resilience of mechanical systems, systems that couldn't be disrupted by quantum fluctuations or cosmic radiation. By dawn of the next cycle, they were ready to test the first implementation, the hybrid cooling system for the medical cargo. As Maya stood in the cargo bay, watching Carax make the final connections, a commotion outside caught her attention. Through the viewport, she could see a group of Aldebaran engineers pointing at the Phoenix Dawn, their laughter clearly audible even through the hull. One of them was making exaggerated coughing gestures, mocking their ship's sputtering engines. "Let them laugh," Maya said quietly. "They don't know what's coming." Carax flipped the switch, activating the hybrid cooling system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hum, the temperature readings began to stabilize, more precisely than they ever had before. "It works," Trill whispered, his exoskeleton glowing brighter with excitement. "Of course it works," Maya replied, a smile spreading across her face as she touched the Phoenix Dawn's hull. "It's time to show them what this old ship can really do." Proving human ingenuity. The Phoenix Dawn pulled away from Nexus Station with uncharacteristic smoothness, its engines humming with a strange harmony that caused nearby vessels to pause and take notice. Inside the engine room, Carax monitored the newly installed harmonic resonance drive with satisfaction as it performed exactly as Maya's grandmother had predicted. Engine efficiency up 42%, he reported over the comm. And that's just with the preliminary adjustments. On the bridge, Maya couldn't help but smile as she watched the navigation display. They were already exceeding their normal maximum velocity by 15%, and the ship wasn't even straining. The sleek Aldebaran cruiser that had mocked them at the station was now falling behind as the Phoenix Dawn accelerated with newfound power. "Should we wave goodbye?" Trill asked with a mischievous flicker of his exoskeleton. "Let's maintain professionalism," Maya replied, though she couldn't quite hide her satisfaction. "We've still got a long journey ahead." Their route to Proxima Centauri II would take them through the Cygnus Passage, a notoriously dangerous section of space where subspace distortions could disrupt the most sophisticated navigational systems. Most ships avoided it entirely, but with their delivery deadline looming, they had no choice but to take the risk. 6 hours into their journey, as they approached the passage, the ship's sensors detected unusual activity ahead. "Captain, I'm reading massive gravitational fluctuations," Trill announced, his translucent appendages working rapidly over his console. "Far more severe than normal for this region." Maya frowned. "Can we plot a course around them?" "Negative. The distortions extend throughout the passage, and—" Trill hesitated, his glow dimming slightly. "There are ships caught in the strongest area. At least 3 vessels showing distress signals." Maya studied the sensor readings. The subspace distortions were creating a quantum storm that would wreak havoc on any ship's systems. Modern vessels relied entirely on quantum fields for everything from propulsion to life support, precisely the technology most vulnerable to such distortions. "We should alert Confederation emergency services," suggested Dex from his security station. "The nearest response vessel is 4 days away," Trill replied. "According to these readings, those ships don't have 4 days." Maya stared at the view screen, thinking quickly. "What about our systems? How will they handle these distortions?" Carax's voice came over the comm, an unusual excitement in his tone. "That's the beauty of your grandmother's designs, Captain. The mechanical components aren't affected by quantum distortions. They'll continue functioning normally, providing a stability baseline for the quantum elements to calibrate against." "You're saying we could navigate through that storm?" Maya asked incredulously. "Not only navigate, we might be the only ship that can," Carax confirmed. Maya took a deep breath. Their deadline was tight, and a rescue operation would certainly delay them. But there was never really a choice to make. "Trill, plot us a course to the nearest distress signal." "Carax, I need everything the harmonic drive can give us." The Phoenix Dawn altered course, accelerating toward the heart of the quantum storm. As they penetrated the outer layers of the distortion, the effects became immediately apparent. The lights flickered as quantum field generators throughout the ship struggled to maintain coherence. Switching to hybrid power systems, Carax announced from engineering. There was a brief power fluctuation, then the lights stabilized as the ship's mechanical systems compensated for the quantum disruption. Through the view screen, Maya could now see one of the stranded vessels, a sleek Aldebaran passenger liner. Its hull gleaming with the latest adaptive camouflage coating. It was the same ship that had mocked them at Nexus Station. Now it drifted helplessly, its sophisticated systems rendered useless by the quantum storm. "They're hailing us," Dex reported, surprise evident in his voice. On screen, Maya ordered. The image of an Aldebaran captain appeared, his normally luminescent skin dull with stress. "Phoenix Dawn, our quantum engines have completely failed. Life support is running on emergency backups with less than 6 hours remaining. We have 300 passengers aboard." "We're coming alongside to assist," Maya replied calmly. "Prepare for emergency evacuation if necessary." The Aldebaran's eyes widened. "How are you even functioning in this storm?" "Our most advanced systems were the first to fail." Maya allowed herself a small smile. Let's just say we're using some technology you might consider outdated. Over the next 14 hours, the Phoenix Dawn performed a series of rescue operations that would have been impossible for any standard Confederation vessel. While the quantum systems on the stranded ships failed completely, the hybrid technology of the Phoenix Dawn continued to function flawlessly. Maya's crew worked tirelessly, evacuating critical passengers from the liner and providing power and life support to the others until they could be towed to safety. The Phoenix Dawn's cargo bay, normally filled with commercial goods, now housed emergency medical equipment and temporary accommodations for the most vulnerable passengers. "We're not going to make our delivery deadline," Dex observed quietly as they helped an elderly Aldebarani couple aboard. "No," Maya agreed, "but I think we're making something more important a point." By the time they cleared the quantum storm, towing 2 disabled vessels behind them, word of the Phoenix Dawn's remarkable rescue had spread throughout nearby systems. When they finally reached the nearest Confederation outpost, they were greeted not with the usual disdain, but with a hero's welcome. The Aldebaran captain who had once mocked their ship now stood before Maya on the outpost's main concourse, his posture formal as he addressed her. "Captain Chen, I owe you and your crew not only my gratitude but my apology. We have long dismissed human engineering as primitive, but today it proved to be our salvation when our advanced technology failed us." Maya nodded acknowledgement, neither gloating nor dismissing the apology. "Different doesn't always mean inferior, Captain. Sometimes the old ways have advantages the new ways haven't discovered yet." As news of their rescue spread, Maya found herself approached by a tall, distinguished Arcturian, wearing the insignia of the Confederation Science Council. "Captain Chen, I understand your vessel utilizes a unique hybrid technology, combining mechanical and quantum systems." "It does," Maya replied cautiously. "The Council would be very interested in studying these designs. They could revolutionize our approach to stability in quantum fields." The Arcturian's tone was respectful, not condescending. "We would offer appropriate compensation, of course." Maya thought of her grandmother's hidden workshop and years of dismissed innovation. "The designs aren't for sale," she said finally, "but we would consider a research partnership, with human engineers leading the integration efforts." The Arcturian blinked in surprise, then nodded slowly. "That could be arranged." 3 days later, the Phoenix Dawn finally delivered its medical equipment to Proxima Centauri II. Though they had missed their deadline, the colonial government waived all penalties in light of their rescue efforts. More importantly, they had secured a contract with the Science Council that would keep the Phoenix Dawn flying for years to come. As they prepared to depart, Maya stood on the observation deck, watching as a team of Confederation engineers examined the Phoenix Dawn's systems with newfound respect. Among them were several of the same Aldebarans who had laughed at her ship just days before. Carax joined her at the viewport. "Your grandmother would be proud," he said quietly. "She knew this day would come," Maya replied, touching the ship's hull affectionately. "That's why she left all those designs hidden away, waiting for the moment when the galaxy was ready to learn that sometimes the oldest solutions solve the newest problems." Outside, the sleek Confederation vessels no longer gave the Phoenix Dawn a wide berth. Instead, they seemed to gather around it curiously, like students around a teacher with unexpected wisdom to share. "Where to next, Captain?" asked Trill, approaching from behind. Maya smiled, looking out at the stars. "Everywhere they said this old ship couldn't go."